So having read these nominations, I can tell you these guys could sit up here for the next 5 hours and tell us so much stuff that would make us better parents, better coaches, better competitors. And I have the challenge of, in a short panel, trying to get some of that wisdom on the table. So I'm not going to wait. I'm just going to jump in. One of the things in Jackie's nomination that came through player after player, coach, teammate after teammate about her, parent after parent, was the way she helps her players through mistakes. Any of you that have ever coached, where do players look when they make a mistake? One of two places. At their parents or their coach, right? And what do they usually see? Oh, right? Jackie has a really special way of dealing with mistakes and helping her players through mistakes to have them focus forward. So Jackie, could you kick us off and tell us what you do about mistakes?
The biggest thing is to remind the players that the mistakes are part of the learning process. They have a million more chances to do it better next time. So a lot of times a player will say sorry to me after making a mistake or tripping over a ball or missing a pass. But I tell them, don't say sorry. Tell me you'll do it better next time. So the big, focus is that they can, improve and take the steps to make that shot better, or to defend better, or to not let that goal in, or whatever it is. So even today, we were down 1-0, we scored an own goal, which is always painful. But that player came off the field crying, and we had to refocus her. Second half, she was back in it, so.
So those of you who are reading the fine print in your program will see that Jackie actually played for the national team in the Philippines. And one question I'm curious about is, when you were a player, were you this good at dealing with mistakes?
No. Honestly, I wasn't very good at dealing with a mistake myself. But, again, you have to learn to pick yourself up.
And I know we're joined tonight by your sister, who also played on the Filipino national team. So thank you very much for joining us tonight as well. Yeah. So even though Jackie looks like she probably just started coaching last year, she has more than a decade of coaching experience. We saw these pictures and we this woman looks so young. How could she have so much experience? Ron and Don also look very young and still have 35 years of coaching experience. So let's hear it for these guys. 35 years of coaching. If there was one thing that came through in the numerous testimonials about these guys, was what teachers of character they are. And I think a lot of coaches say they want to teach character, but how do you actually do that? So what I want to do is ask them to talk a little bit about how do they put a fine point on actually coaching character with their swimmers. And so why don't we go ahead, and Ron, will you start us off?
Okay. How do we teach character? Well, I'm of the opinion that if you don't live it, you can't teach it. And your life has to be devoted to that. And I think for my brother and myself, it has been. We've gone through a lot of growth processes over the decades. And so we live it. It's the most important thing in the world to us in our lives, and it's what we want to share. And as just a small example, we're opposed to drinking in high school and really even beyond that, and drugs, so we don't drink. And we've made that social decision, and it's not because we philosophically disagree with it. But the statement is, we don't need to do that to enjoy our lives and to be happy and to have positive relationships. And we communicate to the kids that they don't need to do that, and they've got to be above the social pressure that tells them that's what they need to do to be happy. So it's that, it's with integrity. We have kids, and this is a reality in high school, where a kid will come to me and say, the majority of the kids in my class are cheating, and I'm not, and my grade is suffering. What am I supposed to do in that situation? And we have to talk about why it's more important to not cheat and to maintain your integrity, and why it's a life issue, and not to give into it at this point. And we believe that the better you can do that now, the better you'll do that the rest of your life, because you all know that you're faced with challenges in every area of your life all the time. So the better you can handle that as a youth, the better you'll deal with that as an adult.
And Don, I guess just to reframe the question a little bit, I'm sure you guys have athletes coming back all the time to the pool to see you, to check in with you. They've grown up now. They have kids, families of their own. When they tell you the sorts of gifts that you've given them, what are the sorts of things they say when they reflect back on their time swimming for you?
Well, I would echo what Ron said, but when kids come back, and I know this sounds similar to most programs, but it is never about the wins or the performance. It's always about the message. And we tell young kids this. It's about people that love you and support you and respect you and help you make the hard decisions, and that's what we try to do. I would just add on the character thing, what we try to do with kids is to find the leader within. And I think society pulls kids in a direction that's not positive for them, and what we try to do is show them the power they have and the leader they can be and the inspiration they can be. And that really is at any age, whether it's 6, 8, 10 years old, they need to see that and they need to live that. And that's what we try to do.
Great. Thank you. And let's hear it for him. Thank you. And Rashid, a question I had for you is a number of people talked about how coaches, and you're one of these, you can have really high expectations and maybe even be described as tough, but still really be a supportive coach who's teaching those life lessons. How do you balance sort of being tough, but also being the kind of coach where a number of your players said when they have a problem, a personal problem, you're the first person they want to come to?
I think first of all, I think most of my players know that I'm not their friend. And I think once they understand that we're not friends and I'm there for just guidance, I'm there to help, I'm there to support, it's kind of easy to be tough on these guys because I think youth want guidance, I think youth want support. And so once we've established that, and I think I pretty much established that from the onset, that I'm here to support, I'm going to do everything in my power to help you. So when I give criticism, it's very easy. And also, it's about following up constructive criticism. It's about following up. If there's a negative, I always try to combat that with a positive. The last thing that they hear from me is going to be positive.
While you have the floor, one other question I want to sneak in. I think something that's unique for you on this panel is just coaching, in some cases, really diverse kids on your teams that come from totally different backgrounds, different ethnicities. Can you talk a little bit how you make those kids, how you get them to come together and create a cohesive team, and then what life benefits do you feel like they get from that experience?
Sure. It's not easy, first of all. All of my kids come from very different socio-economic backgrounds. Some are from inner city, and I'm from New York City, so Lower East Side, Harlem, and then I have other kids that live in Scarsdale and Riverdale, Westchester, Connecticut. But I think it's about the culture that you create in the gym, and I don't accept less from these guys. You know, we have to. First of all, I tell them, listen, decisions that you make in life, this is what shapes you. Okay, and so everybody that's in this gym right now is a true part of this team, is an integral part of this team. And we have to accept each other. And I think that the relationship that I have with them is strong enough that these guys just follow my lead.
Thank you. Good model for them. Thank you. So Ron and Don, I'm going to give you a heads up. I'm coming at you guys with this one. You're our most senior coaches here, so I'm going to give you this tough one first. PCA talks a lot about developing triple impact competitors. We want athletes to be triple impact competitors where they constantly strive to make themselves better, their teammates better, and the game better. So actually becoming better on 3 levels. I think high school students spend a lot of time making themselves better, right? They might hit the gym, go for extra conditioning, watch tape, spend a lot of time on how can I really decrease my time and be the best swimmer I can be. But what do you guys do to help them make those around them better and maybe even elevate the entire sport?
Well, one thing, concept that's very important in all of our programs is senior leadership. And the seniors should be revered as leaders and mentors and role models. And we really abhor the whole concept of hazing and picking on kids. And and we would say that what they do with the young kids is going to impact them, and those young kids are going to be leaders. They're going to impact generations of kids coming through the program, and they have to see the importance of that and the impact. And I'll tell you one is Peter Varales, who was on your video, And many, many years ago, he was at Camp Leno High School, and he was one of the finest leaders we've ever had. And there were qualities about him that he imparted onto the young kids that are with our program today because of the things that he did years ago. So we talk about that. We let them know how important it is that there are going to be kids in 6th and 7th and 8th grade that will be impacted by the things that you do in this program. And our kids take it very, very seriously. It's a valuable concept, senior leadership.
That's great. Don, you want to?
Well, and I obviously totally agree, and we try to build leadership from the beginning with the younger kids and try to teach them those skills. But the other thing is just for kids to have compassion and to recognize the power of the team. And we had a meeting today about that, about connecting to everybody and to leave being a better team and to putting the team first. And that's a big theme that we have, is that the individual is never more important than the team. So.
It's fantastic. I'm glad you brought up hazing. It's something that PCA is now adding to our student athlete workshop, so for high schools, and it's something that people have said, gosh, inside Honoring the Game, you guys really need a piece on hazing. And unfortunately, I think it's probably trending upward rather than the other way around, so we want to address that head on. And clearly, we should talk to you guys first before we codify that content. So I have another question here for Jackie. What do you do after a tough loss?
Sorry. I just did a funny night with my girls, and they did impressions of me. But that's what came to my head first. I usually am quiet, and I want the girls to reflect on it. I think the biggest way for them to learn is for them to have a chance to think about it themselves, rather than for me to tell them what happened. So usually the first question is, what do you think about the game? How did we play? What did we do well? Because there's always something, hopefully. And then what do we need to work on? And then their hands go up. They usually lead that discussion. And so, at the end of the game, we always have a good debrief of what happened. And by making them involved in that debrief, hopefully the message sticks with them better.
I think that's so wise. I know when I first, let's hear it for Jackie. When I first started coaching, I thought it was my job to talk first and be the only voice and tell my team what they could do better. And to just hand over the reins like Jackie is describing is something that if every coach knew that from the beginning, we'd all be better off. Rashid, one for you. How do you help your players when they tell you they're nervous before a big game?
Well, I think nerves are part of the game. I think nerves can help you to achieve. I'm nervous right now,
One thing we tell athletes is if you're not nervous as a coach, I'm going to be concerned, right? Because when you're nervous, it means you actually care about something. So Rashid, I take that as a high compliment about our dinner tonight. Let me ask you another question, Rashid. How do you think parents can best support their kids in sports, and then also you as the coach?
Oh, wow. That's a huge part. And I think I was talking with Don or Ron earlier today about parents. Parents, especially in AAU basketball, can be very tough. They're there on the sidelines, run up and down the sidelines. I have a few parents that actually sit on my bench or stand behind my bench. Parents are very involved on the AAU basketball level. But I think it's very important to be transparent with parents. You have to be very clear with parents and say, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm trying to achieve, and I need your full support. And I think once you have that from the parents, then you're okay. I've had some trying times. I've had to dismiss kids from my team because of their parents. Because parents can get rowdy, and we need to always keep a positive culture in the gym. So those parents that can't get on board, then they can't be a part of my program.
All right. So I think, didn't you pretend to be Alex Trebek with your players, Jackie, from Jeopardy? Yes. So I haven't watched Jeopardy in a while, but I think there's like a speed round or something like that. So now I'm going to pick up the pace. And we're going to do a very quick speed across to end our panel. And the question that I'm going to start with you, Jackie, and work our way across is, what are the things that you wish you had known when you first started coaching? So if you could communicate those to people tonight, things that you wish you had known when you first started coaching, what would those things be? And we're going to close our panel by a quick answer from each of them on this topic.
Wow, there's a lot I wish I had known. I'm constantly learning, but probably, look, now I'm talking faster. Probably the first thing is that you really have to be dedicated outside of the sport itself. And then, you put in tons of time, your weekends are gone. But that, making the relationships with the girls beyond just the soccer field or, the court, whatever, is going to really, really aid in the success of the game. So dressing up as Alex Trebek, if that helps them bond, then, we do it.
Great.
So.
Great. Ron?
Well, I would say, go ahead. And to follow up on what my brother said about the team, is no player is more important or no swimmer is more important than the team. As a young coach, I think coaches feel like they're so pressured to win that they have the star player probably have more leverage than they should. And I think as a young coach, you have to be willing to let those players go. So I think as a young coach, if a player isn't on board, so to speak, you've got to cut the cord. And the team, you have to trust that the team will be better in the long run for it, and you've got to trust the process. And I think that's probably the most important thing.
Great. Keep going.
Well, I just think that young coaches are so consumed with winning and with their resume initially. I would say if the one thing that I wish I had known, which is what we know now, is that character is more important than winning.
I don't think there's anything that I could say, anything specific I could say that I wish I had known. I really enjoyed the entire experience of coaching. Every day is a new day, every day is a new challenge, and I look forward to that challenge. So as far as knowing anything beforehand, I don't even think about that.
Okay, great. Let's hear it one more time for these guys. We're gonna close with a picture with our winners and Mark. So if you guys like to approach the front of the stage, and I just wanted to say, I've got an almost 5-year-old and a 2-year-old at home, and if I could have these kinds of coaches for my little guys, I know that my life would be really wonderful. So thank you guys so much for everything you do for our kids.
VHS.